A forgotten artifact lies in pieces on a planet far from Earth. Few know it exists except those who took it back and those whose ancestors created it. 4 young people are thrown into a race against emissaries of the gods to find his pieces. Mistrust, greed, and magic are tangled in an endless web. What will the fate be of the universe once it is found and reassembled? Get Scepter of the Gods, The Rod of Truth now on Amazon, and get wrapped up in the saga that will not let you go.
Welcome to the Motivational Devotional, where we merge spirituality and motivation for a balanced approach in pursuing a lifelong dream with relentless intent while in sync with the universe. Take what you can from this podcast to transform your life into the one you want to create. Good morning. I am Mark the Writer. I want to thank you for joining me today as we are winding up our series, 50 Ways to Love Your Soul. I hope you've been able to follow along with this series and are finding it helpful in getting your new year going in the direction of your lifelong goals as well as in deepening your spirituality. If you know anyone who could use some encouragement in setting goals or spiritual development, then please share this podcast or the blog version from motivational-devotional.com. Today is also one of the most important out of all 50 of these podcasts on loving your soul. I saved what I think are the 3 most important topics for the last, and yesterday was to love no. Tomorrow is allow yourself to be loved and know you deserve it. Today is love yes. I think we all love yes. We love yes when offered a piece of pie or cake or that favorite beverage. We love yes when someone we find highly attractive asks if we want to go somewhere with them. We love yes when offered a promotion or that career position that seemed like such a long shot. We love yes when we think the answer is going to be no, but we ask anyway and are pleasantly surprised when the answer turns out to be yes. Yesterday, I shared several times in my own life when I said yes, but I probably should have said no because the results were in some cases almost disastrous. I will add to that list the time I was in the Air Force and won the Base Airman of the Month award, which included an incentive flight in an RF-4. That jet is retired now, but it was capable of flying at nearly Mach 2. Over most of the country, supersonic jets aren't allowed to fly over the speed of sound, so we flew just under it. That was an occasion when the result could have been disastrous. However, it did seem like a good idea at the time, and it was a good idea not only at that time, but since then. I can still remember how it felt to fly just under the speed of sound. That was an opportunity that was a very good yes. I could say to just enjoy when your yes turned out to be a very good yes, and to know at those times that all of creation is conspiring in your favor and just be done with today's podcast. But that would be a disservice to you. What about those times we said yes, and it was not such a good thing? Maybe it seemed like a good idea at the time. Maybe it didn't even seem like a good idea, but we said yes anyway, and the gut was screaming to say no, but we didn't listen. For all those times we said yes, but should have said no, here is the rest of the podcast. We can pile up the list of those times and make that a list of regrets, and maybe even resentments if we resent the person who talked us into this or that. Sometimes that resentment is warranted and someone perpetrated an injustice against a person by talking them into something that any sane person would have declined. If that is the case with you, I encourage you to talk with a counselor and work that stuff through so that you don't carry that person's baggage any longer. That's what it is, you know. That person's baggage, not yours. The thing we're working with today is only the resentment involved, which you can let go, but please get help with the other feelings involved. For those other things, specifically things we did to ourselves, let me revisit the things I shared yesterday. Falling down the jungle gym could have killed me, I suppose, if I had hit a few inches lower on the back of my head and fractured my spinal cord against any of those metal pipes on my way down, but I didn't. I went back to school a couple days later and played on the playground with that same kid with no ill feelings. Even at 6 years old, I just let it go. I can love that, yes, because it taught me the importance of thinking something through before doing it. I didn't completely learn that lesson for a long time after that, but the lesson was there regardless, and it's the same with the slide injury, although I did realize that that kid was just being mean, and I didn't have much to do with him after that incident. Even though the sailboat mishap could have ended in disaster, such as drowning, ironically, he died a couple months later, and I never saw him again. We laughed about the whole thing at the time, and it made for some great stories, even though us two ministers' kids got into a lot of trouble. I had no idea, of course, that would be the last summer any of us would see him. I love that yes, because not only did it teach me some functional lessons about what not to do with a sailboat, but sometimes the best things in life are the memories we create when we should have said no, but we said yes, and the consequences bound us closer to people involved. By the way, I was off by a couple of years when I told the story yesterday. I was only 13 and he was 14, both of us too young to be taking out a sailboat on our own with no training, but it was a great yes. Sometimes you just need to go for it anyway. I will leave you with that thought today, but don't let it be a sad thing. Say yes to something today that promises a new adventure, something maybe even a little dangerous, but definitely something that you do with someone else as you look conspiratorially at each other and ask, should we? Nah, no way, we can't do that. But should we? Ask, what's the worst that could happen? If it isn't an ominously terrible idea like riding a skateboard off the roof of your house, maybe, just maybe, it's a good time to say yes and love yes. But definitely, 100%, you must, just as I must, listen to that still small voice for ideas that take you toward your lifelong dream and say yes to all of those. No matter what the possible consequences are to those, if they get you closer, they are always a good idea at the time. While you love yes, remember that all of creation is conspiring in your favor. Trust that the universe always has your back behind your yes. American engineer and physicist Martin Lewis Pearl said, "For every good idea, expect to have 5, 10, 20 wrong or useless ideas. You cannot avoid the bad ideas if you keep your imagination free. There is no spam filter for bad ideas."
Thank you for taking the time to listen today. Please help keep this podcast going by following the Motivational Devotional Facebook page, following @Threefold Way Radio on Twitter, and sharing the written format of today's message from motivational-devotional.com on your social media. I am deeply grateful for your support, and thank you for letting Motivational Devotional be part of your journey. Peace out. See you tomorrow.
Motivational Devotional is a production of Threefold Way Radio, LLC.